Harrison Price for Wednesday, January 14th, manifesting.
Yeah.
2026, we're a presentation of Bet365, and we're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Blake Price, I'm Matt. Mike Rogerson, all his Junos hitting switches and conducting things.
Not quite June, but it is going to 11 today. In fact, we'll go to 11 for the next few days.
Some nice sunny days ahead. Yeah. Saw some snow in the forecast for next weekend.
Snow being destroyed on the local mountains.
Everything is
as we speak.
Happening. Let's get to our daily poll question and start today's proceedings.
Sure.
What does Elias Pettersson's hot streak make you want to do? And we know you can write in a lot of answers here, so have at it. The way we phrase this one, and there's a reason. Trade him, keep him. You can vote at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. He scores again last night. That's goals in back-to-back games. He's got 5 in his last 9. 10 in his last 20 played. Of course, he missed 8 games with that injury around Christmas. 13 goals in 38 games this year, which is basically 1 in 3. 1 every 3. It's a 28-goal pace over an 82-game season. And he is starting to look more and more like the player we saw notch 100 points and nearly 40 goals a few years ago.
A little less dynamic. Mm-hmm. I'd still like to see more Deeks. I think about that 2-on-1, and he just kind of jammed it into the pads. Was it in Montreal? But the release last night, it's a great setup by Carlson. He and Carlson have a little bit of chemistry, but that was a quick goal scorer's release.
Mm-hmm.
Love that part about it, at the very least. But trending.
Well, trending, and of course, not exactly surrounded by the same quality of player that he was when he put together his best offensive seasons. So, and look, why are we even considering trade here for a player who's got a no-move clause in year 2 of a long 7-year deal? Well, TSN hockey insider Darren Dreger, he joined us on Monday. He sent me a text yesterday. He goes, Matt, just so you know, I've firmed up a few things about Pettersson. We're talking about it on Insider Trading. And what Dreger said, the Vancouver Canucks are listening and will listen to interest in Elias Pettersson, despite believing that if he gets a change of scenery and a new start somewhere else, he's going to thrive in that new environment. Sort of the discussion we were having a couple of years ago is he was marching towards that contract extension and the trade deadline where the Canucks wanted to get that done. Dreger continues, says there has been no communication with his agent, Pat Brisson, as of yet. They would, of course, have to because they have to know if he'd be willing to waive his no-move clause. But they are listening and will listen to interest in Pettersson despite, I mentioned despite believing the new environment.
Well, and which, are people okay with that? Are people at peace with that? And I don't dispute that. It's very possible. I would say it is, in my view, the more likely scenario. Not a guarantee, but I would say, to me, it's past the 50 percentile mark of I believe he would get to 85 points in a new environment on a better team. And the better team part is critical here, too. If he becomes the number 1 or number 2 center on a better team in a new environment, and Matt, this is the other little nuance, especially if it's a non-hockey market. Carolina's the name that keeps coming up because of historic interest. That's a non-hockey market where the spotlight is less. It's a good team, and it's a fresh start. I think I'm pretty confident he's an 80-point player in Carolina, Matt. And are fans
Yeah.
okay with that,
Yeah.
knowing you're not going to get a Quinn Hughes haul for Elias Pettersson? It'll be a good return, but it's not going to be a Quinn Hughes haul. Are you okay then with next year, the year after, seeing Quinn Hughes scores his 32nd goal of the season? I hope people have done that exercise in their minds before they say, yes, trade him. Because remember, 2 years from now, 2 years from today, as the Canucks will be that much deeper into this rebuild, you would think, you know how old Elias Pettersson is? Just turned 29 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's got years of productive hockey left in him.
Oh,
here.
no.
He can stay here.
course.
And I'm not advocating one way or the other here, folks. I'm going through the exercise here in the moment. Like, he's got enough youth on his side that when this management is envisioning turning the corner, he's a 29-year-old forward.
Well, and you talk about how you think surrounded by better players, he would be even more prolific.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of the conversation around him from Canucks fans. This popped onto my feed yesterday from Sapster. It does a very nice job on social. Oh, that's Analytics. Let's do that one, Mike. Leave that one up. Sapster was saying, let's hope the assists come, and then said, likely they won't come. And the reason being is his line mates, Blake. Look at this. Why won't he get assists? Look at what his line mates are shooting right now. 4.7% at 5-on-5. Take a look at where they have been in the past. Now, that 13.7%, for those of you on visual mediums, that's a total outlier. That is second all time, actually, since this stat has been tracked going back to 07, 08. So that one and even 13.3 are kind of beyond the pale. Very difficult to...
Nevertheless, it happened twice.
But, it happened twice in a 5-year span, 4-year span. But you take a look at where some of the other numbers
8, 10,
are.
11 would be far superior.
Well, yeah.
Even last year, 9.5.
Yeah, last year was double what it is this year, Blake.
Yeah.
Almost exactly to the... And we'll get into this a little later when we look at some shooting percentages on the Canucks, and especially with their wingers, DeBrusk and Besser in particular. So, yeah, there is a very good case, I think, if you're a rival general manager looking in on all this going, okay, looks like he's got a bit of his mojo back, scoring goals at the very least, would be driving more points if he had wingers who could actually put the puck in the net, and is still a damn good defensive player. Now, Chris Johnston of The Athletic and TSN, he is also talking about so is the whole world right now, the hockey world. They're open for business. Saying Vancouver has had trade discussions around their vets and talks have expanded. Connor Garland's name has been out there. And Johnson has said he's heard they've been offered a second-round pick and a pretty good prospect for Kiefer Sherwood, who, of course, is now hurt. Name-checking Dallas, New Jersey, Toronto, and the Rangers amongst the interested parties there. So we're going to bring Patrick Johnson on the show here soon because he's written a column for the Province today talking to Jim Rutherford, and Jim gets a little more specific. Like drip by drip, the Canucks are getting a little more specific on this rebuild that we'll get to. But to answer the question, Blake, and I'm going to take it very literally, what does Elias Pettersson's hot streak make you want to do? Keep him. I want to watch this Petey again. I shudder to think at how terrible they'll be for how long if they do move him, although I certainly see the case for moving him, and I see the case for moving him at high ebb.
The other, and I'll play devil's advocate here for, I first of all, I am skeptical you get anywhere close to value for him.
Well, that's because he's got 7 years, including this one left on $11.6 million. And
performance and contract are both working against the acquiring team here. So, and Canuck fans have to watch how excited they are, thinking that they're going to get another Quinn Hughes haul again. I don't think that's happening. But the other reason to hold on to him from that devil's advocate standpoint is, Matt, the one thing that rebuild teams generally are very poor at, because generally they're bringing in skilled players that are reasonably good at scoring the odd goal here and there.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally pretty crappy at playing defensive hockey. And having one guy that knows all four corners of the rink that can protect maybe a future first-round draft pick, like if they're going to bring in a guy like a Gavin McKenna or something like that, like that guy's not playing D, but Pettersson is. Mm-hmm. So Pettersson with McKenna, well, that makes some sense.
It does.
So
wouldn't be the most robust top line.
No, you want somebody with some beef alongside of them.
Sir falls a lot, but yeah. Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. The Canucks lose their 8th consecutive game last night in Ottawa. They're now 0-5 on this road. Well, yes, they're now 0-5 on this road trip.
0-8, 0-6-2.
They have lost every single game in regulation here, 5 in a row. That's the season worse. Going into Columbus tomorrow. More on them later. And President of Hockey Operations Jim Rutherford says they are listening on everybody. That is Philip Roenick. That's Marcus Pettersson. That's Tyler Myers. And yes, that's Elias Pettersson. And yeah, a lot of these guys have trade protection, but it sounds very much like the Canucks are willing now, if they get the right offer, to go to all of these guys with trade protection and ask them if they'd be willing to move to a given team. We almost fired a poll question the other day, trade them all, ? Because we see all of your comments. If you're a trade them all guy or gal, you're at least getting your way in terms of they're listening on all. And so let's bring in Patrick Johnston of the Province and Postmedia, who has penned this column. It is just popped on their website and on socials. He joins us from his home in Burnaby. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How we doing?
Oh, juicy, juicy, juicy. Well, let me read one of the quotes and then we'll discuss. Rutherford,
Sure.
Quote, when we started the process, ... the intent at the start was to not get into any core player. It may very well end up staying that way, but it certainly would not make sense for Patrick to not listen to anybody. So we have a bit of a shift here, Patrick.
Publicly, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as I note, first of all, I said, listen, you mentioned your GM here, and we had noted previous comments about the GM and who was handling the Hughes file, and Jim didn't really get into that part, but he said, no, listen, like, he's the GM, he takes the calls. We then talk about it as a group, and we see what we think. Yeah, it is a shift. Like when he and I spoke in November, as I noted in the story, the intent at that point was to sort of, let's see what we can get for guys like Sherwood and Kane and Derek Forbort. We thought maybe it was going to come back.
Teddy Bluger, we thought they might actually have some trade value, but alas.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's be, these are the guys that get moved at the deadline. Let's start talking about these guys. Now, obviously, those guys are all still here. I do think Sherwood is going to get moved. I think they're simply waiting for the best offer to come along and see where they're at. But no, that means, literally, as I note in the column, the impetus of this is Drager going on TSN and saying, hey, they're willing to talk about Elias Pettersson.
Yeah. So let me continue. Rutherford said this is about improving this team without taking shortcuts. Excellent word. Word Canucks fans have been waiting for.
Yeah.
It has hung there like a scarlet letter on them. Shortcuts. An impatient owner who's just looking for the next shortcut back to, mid contention. Being a playoff team, not necessarily having a championship vision. And you write, when he says shortcuts, he means holding discipline, not taking side tours on trades or signings that don't have the long term in mind. And then Jimmy says, that's trying to do it too quickly. We've got to have the patience of living through where we are presently. Oh, my goodness, Patrick.
I love those quotes.
Music to the Canucks fans' ears.
Yeah.
I love that part, and that's good transparency on where they're at. One thing, but going back to the initial quote on everyone being available, you certainly do that. He didn't need to say that, though. What do you think is the motivation? Because the other part, the transparency, great, all that. You don't need to tip your hand, though, and say we're listening on everyone. You can do that in the back channels. That doesn't need to be public. Why do you think he made that part public?
8 losses.
I mean,
still doesn't need to be public.
Well, you go ahead and answer. I have my theory here.
I listen. Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, here's a guy that I think he's trying to show that he's somewhat attuned to the market, that he hears what people are saying, and it's trying to say, listen, I understand where we've been. I mean, he and I have talked about this before, like the path that was tread before he was hired 4+ years ago, right? How we got here. And a little bit of sort of trying. I mean, I think he knew this from, Stan Smeal, like being in the front office. There wasn't a lot of institutional knowledge when he showed up, right? But there was some. And, the efforts of those that were holdovers to try to sort of make it clear what didn't happen. And I think, as I've mentioned before, like you look at the what might have been from 2014, right? Like there's a view here that if we can really juice 1 or 2 drafts, which is what, and I know people are probably sick of hearing about, but this is what Mike Gillis wanted to do in 2014 and was on the course. He traded Schneider, he traded Luongo, he had this incredible trade of trades lined up for Kessler to Anaheim, right? There was a Burrows trade on the table. Like there were things happening that would have done what they're trying to do now. And I don't know whether he specifically knows. I'm sure he has some knowledge of that. But, like, fundamentally, he sees a moment here that is very important to the future of this hockey club. And he believes that if they nail it, they can do what Gillis believed, which is it would take sort of 2 to 3 seasons. He thinks they can do that. Now, is that realistic? Probably not. It's probably more like 5 or 6 years just because realistically you're looking at what you get in next year's draft as well and so on and so on. But this all starts with me asking him about literally sending TSN Hockey Insider Darren Dreger reports struggling Canucks are willing to consider all options as the trade deadline draws closer, including trading center Elias Pettersson. Mm-hmm. And I sent that to him. And I said, can we talk a bit about this? And, he says, listen, I'm not talking about specific players and specific offers, but I'm willing to talk about the overall concept. And that's where we went. And the overall concept is this team needs more of what he's always been talking about, and we are going to have to do what's necessary to get there.
So the overall concept, though, has never had the accoutrement of words like shortcut, patience. Right. In the past, it's been 1 to 2 years. I noted he said 2 to 3 years to you, Patrick.
He said 2 to 3, and he, yeah.
And my theory as to what has happened here is that you have now lost 8 straight games. Francesco was at the game in Toronto, as he normally is. He got embarrassed on Hockey Night in Canada in front of what will be one of the biggest television audiences for a regular season game this year. 8 straight losses. And I think what that's done is that, because I have always felt that Rutherford and Alvin, like, they're not dim bulbs. They understand what's going on here. It's just about managing up, like it has been for so many other Canuck executives. You mentioned Gillis, but Linden, Benning, the same thing. What 8 straight losses and the embarrassment Saturday in Toronto has given Rutherford is ammunition. We know how emotionally erratic Francesco is. It's given him ammunition to walk into the owner's office and say, look, Francesco, like, if you have any delusions that we're going to be able to execute another couple of trades this year, add a kid in the draft, and then add some talent in free agency and get back to being a competitive team next year, like, take a look at what is going on here.
We are dead last with a bullet.
Exactly. Like, there is no there, Frankie. And so, the thing is like, if you want to squash a Connor Garland trade because you think, oh, how can we be competitive with Connor Garland? No, that without Connor Garland, that's the wrong way to go, man. Like, if we get the right offer for Connor Garland now, we got to make that trade. And the same goes for Roenick and Marcus Pettersson and Elias Pettersson and Tyler and all of the vets. Don't worry, I'm not trading all of them, but we have to make a couple of those sorts of moves to position this franchise to be competitive 2-3 years down the road. I read your column, Patrick, and maybe I'm reading too much between the lines, but I read your column, and I do wonder whether Rutherford has made a breakthrough here with Aquilini in terms of the timeline of when this team can get back to being a playoff club. Is that too optimistic? Is that reading too much into it? I don't know. You tell me.
No, I have the same read. I didn't ask him specifically, but I would have the same read fundamentally, is that this, he sees what needs to be done. He's explained this to his owner. And I think even if you ask Gillis, he doesn't really know, I think, still what happened, that was the plan, that they were going forward and all of a sudden something changed. And whether that was the sudden recognition, oh my God, what are we going to do? We need to make the playoffs. I thought we were going to make the playoffs. Who knows? But the fundamental truth is that this team is 31st in the league. Is it 31st? I haven't actually double checked. But anyway,
32nd.
They're bottom of the pile.
It is 32nd. Patrick, the most overused word in Vancouver this week is dead. And not because we've had a litany of people dying, but because every time we talk about the Canucks, we note that they are dead last. Not just last. They're dead last.
They're bottom of the pile. And they recognize where they're at. And even though, they will argue, and he did sort of nod at a little bit, that, listen, well, if only we had Marco Rossi and Philip Hedl, like, look how, and you're right, you would be a betterly offensively talented team. But the way this team plays defense and the problems they've had in goal, and, the overall truth is that this team is at the bottom. They played themselves to the bottom. And the idea that, as you said, a quick trade here or there, a shortcut, will fix this team and get them back in playoff contention. Like we've heard obviously Adam Foote, even as recently as last week, the playoffs. And I think people saw the post-game exchange with Jake DeBrusk talking about, we need to get back some wins. I think Jake now means, for the sake of their sanity, they need some wins. When I talked to him 10 days ago, back to back, like, there you could see he's sort of, there's that glimmer in his head. These guys play until they're out, they do believe in, but they know they're out, right? Like, it's cooked. There's still 30 whatever games to go. They know it's cooked. And so, like, that, if that's what everyone's saying, and I listen, I know that I've heard, I think a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago, Francesco was sort of meeting with everybody, if you will. And I'm sure the message that he has heard from everybody is, listen, man, this ain't happening. Let's be smart. Let's go for it right now, because the faster we do it, the sooner we'll come out of this. We need a good draft. We need a big draft this summer. We need another good one next summer. That takes you 2 years out of this. If you get a high-end guy in the summer, in the draft this summer, that guy's in your lineup in 20, could maybe next fall, but 2027, 28, right? Then the guy that you have from the 27 draft is in your lineup 28, 29, 29, 30, which amazingly is 3 years from now. That season becomes a season where you've got like a 19, 20-year-old forward, and you've built up your defense. You've got, whatever else. Like, then you're starting to bank towards something. You're looking at where the Sharks are now, or you're looking at where the Sabres are now, and that's where you want to be.
That's 3 years from now, Patrick. I think there's still a lot of fans that are saying, okay, I could do it 2 years of losing, but you're talking about 3 here for sure, not including this one. So it'll really be 4 years. Is that more realistic?
Absolutely. That's the challenge. And well, listen, he says 2 to 3 years. That's what I mean. Like you're talking about 3 seasons from now, right? As opposed to the Buffalo nonsense and he didn't say Buffalo, but he said, 6 to 10 years? I mean, that's directly talking about what's happened in Buffalo, which is that, let's not forget, they had Jack Eichel, right? And then they went out and got Kyle Oposo, and it all went south. And, I put the Oposo example to him, and he said, well, listen, that doesn't mean you don't get useful veterans. You would brought up Nick Foligno, right? Like, look what they've done in Chicago. Now, I'm not sure Chicago is exactly on a site, but if it were me, given the sort of missteps I think Kyle Davidson has made there, but on the whole, the team is pointed upwards. And Nick Foligno is the captain of that team. So, I guess point taken. And so that's why, I then asked him about, like, what about a guy like Tyler Myers? Is that the kind of guy? He goes, listen, we have to listen on everybody, right? Like, the 3 veteran defensemen, I think, are important given we have 3 young defensemen. But if someone makes an offer, we're not going to say no on, right off the bat, right?
Yeah. A lot of guys at club are without or with no move or no trade clauses, though, in this category. I mean, what do you think the likelihood is that guys like DeBrusk and Philip Roenick, even if you got offered Sun, Moon, and Stars, Marcus Pettersson, are going to say yes to waiving their no move clause? Do you get the sense there's any appetite? And we are, I think, all in lockstep that Tyler Myers is probably not going to say yes to that.
No, I think Tyler Myers is the most unlikely one.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, I suppose maybe if there's a chance at the end of next season, he's a free agent, so on.
A year from now, maybe.
Yeah. There are specific family reasons.
There's family reasons there, so I just think he's unlikely. But no, listen, Jake DeBrusk signed on for a project that is not on right now, right? Mm-hmm. Jake DeBrusk is a good winning guy. Like as I mentioned, I chatted with him and asked him. I said, I want to be here as part of the solution, right? There's no abandoning ship as far as I can tell from him. Philip Roenick in the end is playing his heart out, and I think playing very well, and obviously has his big new contract and has showed well as a leader, at least internally. But if you were presented a chance, a top team wants you to come be one of their guys, like, I have a hard time imagining, he says no. Marcus Pettersson maybe is the same. I mean, certainly he's signed on to be a certain guy. I think Marcus Pettersson is a guy they do want to keep around. I think they would take a lot to get rid of him, for them to part with him. I think they value what he brings and the calmness he brings, even if he's not having the best season. But if we're there, they'll go, right? Like, I think it was very clear, and this is why I did ask specifically of a guy like Myers. I said, is that someone you would go with? And he said, no, it's like, listen, the veterans are important, but if there's an offer there, we've got to think about it.
Yeah, you're right about Myers being the least likely to go. Tyler and his wife, Michaela, have detailed their son, Tristan, and some of his health challenges. Yeah. And my understanding is there's specifically great care in this community, which so I'd be very surprised until it becomes the limited no trade next year for Tyler Myers. But yeah, some of those other guys, I think it's worth wondering, like, how long do you want to stick around for this? Can I just ask you a question about your Saturday column? Because that was a banger too, buddy.
I can't even remember anymore. Which one was that?
Well, I just noted people were gleaning that would San Jose, Chicago, a team like that, who think they're in ascension, be the candidates on Elias Pettersson beyond the longtime Carolina interest we've known?
Well, I've heard about LA. Do you think, I heard about LA after that. San Jose is me kind of guessing. I'd heard Chicago. San Jose, I look at San Jose, though, and I think as a trade partner, right? Like, you have to think about that as well. We see Steve Stajos goes and watches the Canucks. Great. Looking for right shot defenseman. Great. Could he really actually get Philip Roenick? I don't know. There's not, they've got Yakimchuk, who's like an interesting prospect, but not a blow you away prospect. There's not a lot else there. They've got a couple of interesting centers, but I'm not sure that's where they're going. And also, like, are they even going to the playoffs? So if you're Philip Hronek, where would you rather be, here or there, if you're not going to the playoffs? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
all the hassle for no guarantee of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, but you look at a team like San Jose, which is banking in the right direction, has a lot of young players. They're gonna, if they want to add, they are in a position where maybe they do want to make a win now upgrade, right? You add a guy like Elias Pettersson as well as he's playing. That adds a lot to your lineup, and you're going to have to give up something. So San Jose was more me speculating.
Okay.
But Chicago, LA, we know Carolina's been interested in the past. Like, I have no doubt, given how he's playing, even if he's only, hasn't had a bit of a scoring slump a little bit, like he's back scoring now, and he's just doing all kinds of things, and he's showing up on highlight reels, and that's what matters, right? Like, teams are going to take notice.
Mark this down. I think Elias Pettersson would waive for a heartbeat in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
His
wife's
half
from there.
has, Wyoming via L.A., yes.
Well, but that's where they met.
That's
right?
where she was based. And also, I heard he's buddies with all those, like, Swedish pop music producers who are based in L.A. Yeah. I think Bublé might have even been the introductory fella there.
Yeah. I mean, remember when, before he signed his extension and we were all wondering, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? People said to me, I said, this guy is really, like, LA is the kind of place he wants to be, and it is obviously a very different media environment, right? It is a place you can play and be a star and also not have to talk to us.
And then disappear. Yeah.
Okay, Patrick, we'll let you go. We appreciate this. A regular hit with Patrick live on a Wednesday here, but appreciate you making the time. Great column. And we'll catch up next week.
Thank you, sir.
Happy to be here, guys.
That is Patrick Johnston of the Province and Postmedia. He's a columnist there, a banger today. And let's get to Yellow Dog here, and then we'll continue on to the game last night.
Lots to talk about with Yellow Dog as well, like the Starborn Kolsch. Speaking of
stars,
being a star,
LA.
Yellow Dog Brewing's released the Starborn Kolsch style. You remember this one? Features 4 lucky furry friends from the Make My Pet a Yellow Dog Brewing star. It's Aardvark, it's Mr. Eyeball, Ben, and Lizzie are the 4 options here through this collaborative fundraising contest with the BCSPCA. They've raised a total of $265,000 in change. So everybody raised their Kolsch to Starborn and the beautiful animals supporting the BCSPCA. Again, let's put their names in lights. Aardvark, Mr. Eyeball.
Mr. Eyeball.
Ben and Lizzie. I'm going to guess there's some buggy eyes there.
Yeah, stand to reason.
Yeah, from Mr. Eyeball.
Is that Byfield? Do you want Byfield back if you're trading Pettersson to L.A.?
I think Byfield's going to be
Kempe's
a really nice
buddy,
player,
right? Like Kempe is who he wants to play with.
I think he's a nice
center
player,
back.
but
you need a center back, and they don't have a ton of centers. Okay,
yeah.
2-1. Canucks fall in Ottawa, giving up 2 rapid-fire goals in the first period that were damn near identical.
Update: Mr. Eyeball is a cat with a singular eyeball. I'm looking at him right now. He's clearly lost an eyeball in some sort of accident or birth defect. He has a single eyeball. It's a big one. It's a golden one. We'll bring up a picture tomorrow with these and O's.
Mr. Eyeball. I must say that is the strangest E&O notation I've ever had.
Yeah.
Damn near identical goals for the Senators last night. Elias Pettersson got them within 1. Alas, no equalizer. Now a season worst 5th consecutive regulation loss. Linus Karlsson assists on that Pettersson goal. He's up to a team best 10 points in the last 12 games. Canucks were outshot 40-20.
Just that, huh? It felt worse, just to be clear.
Well, they were almost tripled up. It was 32-11 at one point through 2 periods. In the back-to-back in Montreal and Ottawa, the Laurentian back-to-back, if you will, outshot 81-43.
Yeah, and like sometimes that is a very misleading stat because if you lead at any point, you can sometimes get into prevent defense. That is so indicative of exactly what we watched.
Here's Pettersson, who says losing sucks. Check out the sigh here.
Yeah, this sucks. I hate losing. I don't know. I don't know. Message is try and do whatever to get the next win, and that's hopefully in 2 days.
I thought he was going down JT Miller. I don't know. I don't know. It was two big sighs there.
It was
actually.
one extendo sigh.
Extended sigh off
Yeah.
the top. What am I going to say? Utter a few words. Another sigh. Bookending sighs around losing sucks. And if you are a Tankus, get used to this, right? Like, you were going to have a lot of veterans who sound like that after games. Brock Besser has now gone 21 games, more than a quarter of an NHL season, without a goal. Brock Besser could not hit the broadside of Burnaby right now.
He had the opportunity last night.
He once again.
Doorstep again.
Brock Besser could fall out of a boat and miss wet right now.
Yeah. It's not there for
We
him.
talked about it yesterday, day before, where you can just you can see the calculation going on when the puck is coming to him or when he has the puck, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where you can just see the lack of confidence. It is visible. More than palpable. It's tangible. He spoke to Ian McIntyre, and boy, we know Brock. And as McIntyre writes, he said, I don't, and then stopped for about 10 seconds. Didn't catch if there was a side there, but you can imagine. And then continued on, Besser, quote, I don't even know what to say. Honestly, it's crazy. Where we were a couple of years ago, obviously some big moves, and we're a super young team, but I mean, I don't know. I just get frustrated when I think about it because, I haven't scored. I haven't been leading in that regard, putting the puck in the net, and it's eating at me a lot. And so I don't even know. I don't have the words to describe it right now. Neither did Adam Foote. More on that in a second.
It's disappointing after where we thought maybe he would be in his career as a, top 5 winger in the league, and that just didn't come to fruition.
But it was like, even after we had abandoned that, Blake, it was 40 goals 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
But that was with JT Miller. That was great chemistry there.
And you know what? Truthfully, at his cap hit at $7 million, with the way that the cap is adjusted, it's okay if he needs good line mates to be a 35 goal scorer, because there's some guys that can't get to 35 goals, period. So with that in mind, I think there is an excuse there for Brock based on the quality of line mate that he's had, in particular quality of center that he's had with David Camp, the current guy there. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to say, it should be Aatu Ratu, and it probably should be, but that'll be an incremental improvement. It is, Aatu Ratu is still Aatu Ratu. Mm-hmm. So I get that defense of Brock Besser. But again, still, this is just far too long, far too few goals. He should have at least 3 goals in the last 20 games. 21 now. Mm-hmm. He's sitting at 12 goals on the season. I don't think people are wondering what's going on. He does get power play time too, Matt.
Can I throw 2 ideas at you?
Mm-hmm.
Besser for Lafreniere. You sell him on Rockets New York City with your boy JT Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. Lafreniere, 7'4",
younger,
24.
Yeah.
A lot of years left. Term, 6 years after this one.
And he's got the crushing weight of being the first overall draft pick. So
he's got an 8-team no trade list. So Vancouver's probably not on there. Of course, his agent once upon a time was Emily Castengay, who's the Canucks AGM. Another step back year right now for Lafreniere. 24 points, 47 games. It was 45 last year. It was 57 the year before he scored 28 goals. And how about this? Besser and something else for Panarin, and you go ahead and flip Panarin the deadline rental and get the young assets.
I mean, that's an interesting idea on EA 26, but there's no chance that's happening. Does he have any trade protection, Panarin? Presumably.
But you would be shipping him out immediately. He's got a full no move.
Yeah. So he's got to be. It's just so
He'd
messy.
be going to a cup. You'd be sending him off to a team that's vying for a cup.
Yeah. I think the other one
I
is far more realistic.
Okay. So Besser at a loss of words. So was head coach Adam Foote. He was asked about the lack of center depth leading to a lack of puck possession. And this answer wasn't quite cigarettes and cashews. It's almost like he didn't want to sewer any player nor expand on all the reasons while trying to use injuries as a reason, not an excuse. Take a listen.
Well, it's a lot of things, and it's a lot of it's logic, and I don't want to sit and talk about 10 different things right now. I mean, we've been snake bitten. There's a lot of guys doing a really good job. I'd say when it's an amount of numbers like that, it's a lot different than bringing one or two fours and one defense. And it's not their fault. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of guys, as you know, that have been in and out of the lineup, and we're back in that situation when we didn't have Marco, or and they're working. They're getting better.
Were you picking up what he was putting down there? Did you follow that one?
Just sort of rambling, gobbledygook.
We had the discussion yesterday about if there's any reason to fire him. Should have added, I think he's out of his depth in several facets of the job. It's a defensive system that's been terrible for the Canucks, hasn't taken hold. Do you want young guys in this system for another 30-some games? Like, if it becomes apparent, okay, we are going to be the worst team in the NHL, do you move on them then?
Well, I think, right now it's a 4-point cushion for last place.
And Winnipeg has a game in hand as well, if I'm not mistaken.
But Matt,
so it could work like 6.
If that increases, if it gets to the point where the Canucks are, and people might joke about this, but we had this example 7 years ago when the Colorado Avalanche, or 10 years ago when the Colorado Avalanche were at 48 points and they were like 25 points clear. I don't think it's going to get to that for the Canucks.
No.
But if it gets to 8 or 10 points, that's a pretty tough lead to squander.
Lead.
Yes.
I hear you.
So if you're already thinking about that in the offseason, yeah, you could make that move. And that's what we saw in the poll question results, was people saying this is dangerous.
Yeah. The good news, it was a good night for tanking. Winnipeg, St. Louis, Anaheim, Nashville, Utah, Ottawa, of course, all win.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Calgary lost, but a lot of the other bottom 10 teams in the league won last night.
How depressing is that, though? The last the worst 3 teams in the league, all north of the border.
Yeah, no.
Flames, Jets, Canucks.
Yeah. Jake DeBrusk has now gone 3 without a goal after his heater. It's still just the one even strength goal. I saw a tweet last night that I was just astonishing to me. It was from Sapster, who we had earlier in the show. Jake DeBrusk is shooting 1% at even strength. If you break it all the way down, it's 1.3%, Blake. He has 1 even strength goal on 77 shots, even strength, this year.
And the interesting thing is he's not a guy that bombs from the point.
No.
It's generally tops of the circles in for Jake DeBrusk.
His overall shooting percentage, because he scored 11 power play goals this year, is 9.2%. He is a career 12.6% shooter.
This is pretty good.
Blake, he had a year where he shot 17%. He has been over 10% in every year of his career, except for the bubble season of 41 games when he was way down. But 11-2, 17-3, 11-8, 13-6, 14-1, 10-4, 16-4 last year with the Canucks, 9.2 overall, 1.3 at even strength.
I mean, it defies description.
It really does.
I mean, you could say he needs to shoot more. It's often a criticism of standstill scorers like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, like whenever we get stats like this, and I did this like a couple weeks ago with regards to a team stat, like I always just bump it up. Like, where would he be if he was still a very bad 5%? Like, if he's at a very bad 5%, he's probably got 4 or 5 more goals.
Well, what's 5% of 77? Yeah.
Did you know he's third in the entire league in the last 2 years in power play goals?
Mm-hmm. We saw that behind Draisaitl and like some other superstar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's tied with Draisaitl in shots this year,
Yeah.
but not the same shooting percentage.
Yeah. So like Garland's at 8.8. Evander Kane's at 6.5. Brock is somehow at 9.6 still, even with 21 games without a goal. That's
Tells you where his standing was.
yeah. But of course, these are the guys that are shooting the puck the most, right? Like Canucks shots on goal, leaders, Jake DeBrusk, Kiefer Sherwood, Evander Kane, Brock Besser, Connor Garland. Only Kiefer Sherwood at 15.6 is double digits amongst that winger group.
So DeBrusk is at 4.5%, 5%. He's got 3 more goals.
Yeah.
He's at 15 and 45, flirting with a 30-goal pace.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The Canucks top shooters, Sasson scores on 20% of his shots. Now, it's not a ton of shots, but it's 9 goals on 45 shots. Sassone. Carlson and Drew O'Connor are both 16.7% shooters this year. But again, both of them are 60 shots on goal on the year. So the bottom line is, like, if the most played wingers were shooting a little better percentage, not only would they look better, but I think Elias would look better too, right? Circling back to what we were talking about off the top with the poll.
Yeah. I mean, to credit last night, DeBrusk forces that puck into a turnover scenario that Carlson picks up and fight. Like, he doesn't get an assist there.
He's not a terrible forechecker. He's just not great on the walls.
Yeah.
Kevin Lankin is terrible in the first period. Just no two ways about it. That's a short side goal by Anton Zub. Then the long side goal by Jordan Spence. Oh, and by the way, 6 goals by defensemen against the Canucks in the last 2 nights, huh? Montreal had 4. Ottawa had 2.
Lankin lets those 2 in, and the other 58 minutes of the night was spectacular.
That's a 30-second span. He gives up those 2 goals. Mm-hmm. All 17 shots in the second, he stops. He keeps them in this hockey game. And if, you get 1 more goal, you salvage at least a point out of this. He saved almost 2 goals above expected on the night. And that's terrific for Kevin Lankinen because we've talked about it. Hasn't been good enough this year. Hasn't been nearly good enough this year. Because we understand you're not going to stop a lot of the grade A's, high dangers, if you will, but you got to stop the mid dangers. And he's been brutal on the mid dangers this year. Last night, outside of that small span where they scored the 2, he's terrific. And speaking of, 15 seconds apart even, not even 30, 15. Same breakdowns from the Canucks on the same face-off set play from the Senators. It was like a video game glitch. You remember playing the old video games? They only had so much AI in them. If you manipulated your player in a certain way, you could score each and every time.
Swinging out of the corner in 94, you could score every time. You go deep into the corner, get the cutout in front, and the goalie could never get across.
Never.
Every single time.
All the time. Guaranteed goal. Bo Jackson running in diagonals in Tecmo Bowl. He was going to score every time. Mm-hmm. That's what it looked like. Those 2 goals. 15 seconds. They were right there. And then lastly, and we had this discussion on Monday a little bit based on Jason Bruff taking on all comers after the Leafs game about, what do you mean? You want them to lose? Now you're criticizing them for the loss? Yeah, you can't have it both ways. There is a gray area. The process matters.
It's narrow. It's a narrow
It's
path.
narrow, but there is a gray area. Process matters. Nuance. Train your brain for nuance. Something I tell all the interns. Not a black and white world. A lot of gray out there. I like this one from longtime Canucks Twitter guy, Chris Conti. I don't care if the Canucks are losing every game. I care that it looks like losing is acceptable. Will you abide that one?
Yeah, no, I think that's where we were going.
Gets to that losing culture that we've talked about.
Yeah, our poll questions have been around that at various points here too. It's there are different ways to lose hockey games, and never being in it, making it look like losing is acceptable, looking like it's damaging young players. Like those are all red flags to look for over the course of the next 2 years.
And the problem is on this road trip, effort has been a problem. Really, through January 3rd and the OT loss to Boston, where they were excellent, effort has not been a problem. They've been under-talented, particularly at center ice. They've gotten poor goaltending at times.
And Matt, that points to one thing for
poor special teams at times, but effort has not been a problem. Effort has become a problem here over the last week and a half.
And it points to one thing for me.
Or week.
The players have realized it's over.
Yep. Time now for Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. And today we talk about Canucks all-time goal scorers, because with his goal last night, Elias Pettersson takes sole possession of 10th all-time in Canucks goals scored. With 198, he passes the legendary Thomas Gradin, had made his way past Burrows and Burt earlier. And he's 3 back of Bo Horvat. I think he's going to catch him.
I think he is.
He's 15 back of Brock Besser. I think he's going to catch him too, the way things are going for number 6.
He might catch him this season.
Oh, God, please, no. He can't catch him this season. I refuse to consider 30-plus games of that from Brock Besser, where you give up a 15-goal lead.
It's possible.
I like Brock. I can't have Brock in that kind of slump.
The question is, how high does Elias Pettersson go on this list? We've talked about trade possibilities.
He's quite a ways back of Henrik Sedin, who is.
Oh, he's not this year.
He's not going to.
But he's not quite a ways. He's
30 goal.
So next year he could catch Henrik Sedin. Is my point.
Well,
next year it's possible with a good year he'd even reel in Tony Tanti at 250 goals. Because if he gets 15 more this year, he's at 213. Then he needs a really good full bounce back year the year after that.
Like 15 and 36. Yeah,
yeah, it's possible. And if he finishes his contract, let's go down to that. If he
finishes his contract,
he's the all-time leader.
He should be the all-time leader. Yeah,
195 goals to go.
Yeah, 393. Daniel Sedin.
I mean, that could be 6 seasons away, sort of thing. But
3 Canucks have crested 300 goals. Daniel Sedin, 393. Marcus Naslund, 346. Trevor Linden, 318. Then a big drop to Stam Smeal at 262. Put it this way. Without knowing how the future is going to play out, not that any of us do, I would bet he's minimum 4th when this is all said and done.
The interesting thing is we make Crave puns generally here on Crave the Stats. I truly don't know what anybody in this entire equation truly craves. Does Elias Pettersson crave to climb this list, or would he crave to be elsewhere? Do fans want to see him climb this list? Do they crave to see him elsewhere? What does the team crave in this? If they could blink, I was going to make an I Dream of Jeannie reference, where you just blink and make things happen. That's a little dated.
You've done that in the past, and you've lost even me, and I'm your peer.
If they could just have their utmost desires granted, would the team get rid of the player and the contract?
Blake used to watch a lot of the old-timey sitcoms when he got home from school.
After school, yeah.
I Dream of Jeannie. All in the Family?
No.
Welcome Back, Kotter?
Yep. Loved Welcome Back, Kotter, yeah. Three's Company, Happy Days.
Those were a little more contemporary than I Dream of Jeannie, were they not?
The Junkyard Guy. Fox, Red Fox.
Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son. God, I loved a good Sanford and Son, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Crave the Stats brought to you by Uber Eats, of course, enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the IPC. If the Canucks win, or more likely if they lose, guess what? The food still tastes great.
Sure does.
You can't lose. You don't lose. Canucks might. You don't.
No.
So
That's what I look forward to every night when I'm watching a Canucks game. When's dinner?
Uber Eats is better than Adam Oates. They're dishing out assists left, right, and center. Download the app.
I'm just glad you didn't force the Crave.
You don't
today.
like it. You don't like when I force the Crave.
Well, it was maybe just a smidge.
Uber Eats wants to talk about Crave.
Something else, and we should have talked about this yesterday. I meant to. I forgot. There is quite a peculiarity with this 2026 NHL entry draft first round, at least for now. Now, let's bring up the graphic here. You may have noticed the Ottawa Senators do not have a first-round pick. It has been forfeited. Ottawa last year chose to forfeit this year's first-round pick rather than last year's first-round pick, number 23 overall, which they used on American right-shot defenseman Logan Hensler, who had a putrid World Juniors and does not look, has, you know how you say outperformed draft stock? This guy's underperformed his draft stock. Long way to go, but they had to do that because of a mistake with the trade protection clause of Evgeny Dadonov a number of years ago. Now, my friends in Ottawa tell me the Senators aren't done fighting this with the league, and they even have precedent because when the New Jersey Devils were sold to the current ownership group, Harrison Blitzer, they had a first-round pick reinstated that was taken away as penalty for the Ilya Kovalchuk backdiving contract. So the Senators may still get this first-round pick back, appeal to Gary Bettman, and perhaps take a lesser penalty.
They may not get it in its rightful spot. Like that could be the go-between.
We'll see.
Fine, you can pick 15th.
But if it is a lost pick, just take it out of the equation. The Canucks have 3 of the top 32 picks as it stands right now because their first pick in the second round, and when you're dead last, you pick first in the second round. That becomes number 32 overall, which is the equivalent of a first-round draft when you have the full order.
Yeah, that's true. That almost makes it. And the other thing to consider here is, like, the Senators are 3 points up on the 29th place team.
Blake, and this is the discussion that's going on in the nation's capital. How embarrassing would it look for the league if they won the lottery or one of the 2 lotteries, got a top 2 pick,
and then it's a blank spot?
Exactly. It would not only look small time, but Gary would have incite. I mean, the whole fan base would be incited, right? Oh. Like you would be despised by a full market. Like basically, Gary, don't ever step foot in Ottawa again if this happens.
They would be better off reaching an agreement soon, Matt,
That's right.
and saying you pick 15th.
That's right.
Or you pick 25th.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your slot.
You get the last pick of the first round, irrespective. You're picking 32nd.
Right.
Just something by way of avoiding what could be the utter embarrassment, and really something that I'm not sure the new owner, because there is a new owner there, that's the precedent, would be. Because, I mean, that's going to stick on Michael Andlauer forever, right? Like, this is the owner who...
Because it is a steep penalty.
Yeah.
It is a steep penalty. If you do this now, Matt, because the Ottawa Senators fans are all full of optimism right now, I'm sure still that they can make the playoffs. But if you told the Ottawa Senators fan base now, okay, we've secured the 20th or the 32nd overall pick, they'd
You're
be
going to get a first-round pick.
Yes. Then everybody settles down. And even if they were to fall...
Right.
And theoretically would have got the third, at least they do have a pick.
And the other thing is the rest of the league is happy with that if they're 32nd because, they're picking, but they're picking after us. And then the lottery teams look at it and go, if they finish in the lottery, we actually have improved odds because they're removed from the equation. So you could get consensus from the rest of the NHL teams. Now, if they leave it as is, obviously the rest of the NHL teams won't have a problem with that. They're a competitor.
But part of this fix, Matt, might be that you'll get the 32nd pick and you're not entered in the lottery. We're taking you out of the lottery because they don't want the embarrassment.
Then we got to change all the odds.
Well,
But fair enough. I mean,
then you don't have the blank spot. Again, even if you're picking 32nd, you don't want Ottawa Senators nil beside the draft order.
And then you're looking at 15 teams who are vying to win these lotteries and move up.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there's this cruise at busy on the Rogers Arena Plaza yesterday, changing some of the imaging outside the Canucks home arena.
Dan Hamhuis coming down finally. Remember how long it took Dan Hamhuis to come off the side of the wall?
Well, they've already had to change Quinn Hughes, right? Yeah. Or at least the singular Quinn Hughes. He's there in the middle of the group shot. And we have talked about if there is something the Vancouver Canucks are the league leaders in, it's theme nights. They do an unbelievable job with the theme nights and the specialty jerseys, Lunar New Year, Black History Month. They got a Pride Night coming up.
Filipino night.
Yes. Diwali.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, and I mean nobody, changes arena imaging like the Vancouver Canucks. They are also leaders in this field, Blake.
Leaders in what? The number of times they need to make the change, you mean?
Changes.
Yeah, but they're not leaders in terms of timeliness. They are always late to it. There is no foresight.
Well, it's because they have to do it so often. It's a very busy schedule.
It's almost like they trade.
They can pick
players.
a right day when they're in the elements. So there you have it. Quinn Hughes will have completely disappeared from around the outside of the arena, at least. Maybe there's some interior stuff still.
But, I've traveled a fair amount. You have too. I don't know that there's a franchise that uses like the physical faces of the players more than the Canucks. Like on the outside of Scotiabank Arena, I don't recall seeing a lot of Austin Matthews imagery.
Yeah, I would have to think. I was at Climate Pledge last year in March.
Like it's logos, it's team first. The badge of the team is the star. You don't see as much imagery of the players.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's a different sort of arena, Vancouver, than in other places, right? Because you have that plaza and you have the viaducts, so you have all these
good exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's also not an original.
You have
16.
the viaducts for now.
It's also not an original 16. Like the logo really is the star for a lot of the original 6 teams, right?
Fair.
So,
time now for our menu, brought to you by Greta. Fantastic spot to catch all the games, home and away, to pregame or postgame, because you're mere steps from the arena or the stadium. And if you're looking for a venue for your next sociable, maybe it's a team building event, maybe it's family reunion, maybe it's a watch party, whatever it is, check out Greta. They got the fantastic menu of street food and the bitchin' arcade that encircles the bar game for everybody. You'll love it. For more info, to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Lawrence Gilman, the new VP of Hockey Operations for the Columbus Blue Jackets, is going to join us twice a weekly regular on this show. For those of you who go back to our radio days, we used to bring Lawrence in for an hour, call it Wednesdays with Laurence Gilman, where he'd answer all of our questions and a lot of yours. And he was a regular with us last year, so we'll talk to him next. And then later, Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects, where we're going to go through some of the things we just talked about. Pettersson trade, the Rangers, Lafreniere, what's going on there. New Jersey Devils are trying to move money out. We'll ask Cam about that.
They got a couple really bad contracts.
Of these draft prospects. Yeah, Stenberg, McKenna, Caleb Malhotra, Tynan Lawrence, the other centerman, and the 2 Vancouver Giants, Ryan Lynn, Mathis, Preston. We'll talk to Cam about all that later in the program. The Whitecaps have arrived. Well, some of them have, for medicals, as they make their way to Spain and training camp for season 2026. Seahawks and 49ers, Bears and Rams. Obviously a very big weekend in the National Football League with divisional playoffs. BC Lions made a signing, and more from that big golf story. PGA Tour trying to repatriate some of the stars, DeChambeau, Rahm, Smith of LIV. That's all coming up on today's program. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Had a chance to go 5 in a row yesterday and blew it spectacularly. I had over 6 goals. There were 3. Did you win yesterday?
I had the Canucks because the big number. So, no.
Oh, boy.
Come back on.
Abbotsford's Nick Taylor. He won the Sony Open in Hawaii last year. He loves these Pacific courses. He's won in Honolulu. He's won in Pebble Beach, Little Inland at Phoenix. He's won that one too. Horses for Courses. Taylor paying plus 3,500 to win the opening event of the PGA Tour season.
Feels like winter just started. In fact, it did, technologically speaking, or scientifically speaking. But
you mean date, calendar?
Yeah, like December 22nd, 21st
First,
is the start of winters. But you're talking golf.
Mm-hmm.
The tennis season is just about to begin in earnest with the Aussie Open. But the Adelaide is, of course, the warm-up. And Victoria Mboko from Canada is into the quarterfinal. It's a tough one against Madison Keys. But she's playing so well into the quarters. Plus 137 on the Canadian to come up with the upset.
She could be the athlete, the Canadian athlete this year, that when we get to November and we start talking about Canadian athlete of the year, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Summer McIntosh, of course, we'll have Winter Olympians this year, where if Mboko breaks through at a Grand Slam.
I like Leila Annie as well, but I just don't know with her frame that she can be the top player.
She got to that one final. She got destroyed, sadly, against a beatable opponent. Raducanu was not exactly taken off from there. But, yeah, she's light.
Yeah. Mboko's got the chance, for sure.
This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Laurence Gilman next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
This segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers in the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. Your do everything, go anywhere kind of vehicle. It's a plug-in hybrid. You're thinking, how can it go anywhere? The range. Stop it with the range. It's got 72 kilometers of electric range, and then you got a full gas tank. Go on any road trip you want. The world's your oyster. And you do it in comfort. You do it with a heck of a fun drive. Go take one for a test drive. You'll see what I'm talking about. Little feather on the gas pedal, and you are off and running. It's a lot of fun. Lots of room for bags, sporting equipment, and the like. Check one out right now. Lease the 2026 SE from 109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
Our next guest has twice been a weekly regular on Harrison Price, a former executive with the Vancouver Canucks, Toronto Maple Leafs, Winnipeg Jets, and now gainfully employed with the Columbus Blue Jackets as their new VP of Hockey Operations. It's our pleasure to welcome Lawrence Gilman back to the program.
Hey,
hello.
Standing ovation.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks. Like a bad rash, I just keep coming back.
Very happy for you. How did all this come together, my friend?
Well, it came together very quickly. Obviously, I have a relationship with Don Waddell. 7 years ago, I spent some quality time with him and with Tom Dundon in Carolina, which culminated in their offering me a position, which I ultimately did not take because we couldn't reach agreement on the totality of the terms. But we stayed relatively close. When he came to Columbus last year, prior to last season, I did reach out to him, congratulated him. I asked him what he was going to do. And at the time, he told me that he wasn't planning on making any personnel changes for the season. And then he was going to evaluate what he had there with people and the personnel, and that he could see a possibility of someone with my skill set joining their group at some point along the way. And then I got lucky in the sense that when Jorma Kekalainen took over the Buffalo Sabres, he immediately reached out to Don to ask for the services of Josh Flynn, who had been Yarmo's assistant general manager in Columbus for 11 seasons. And that set the wheels in motion. Josh Flynn went to Buffalo. That opened up a chair, if you will, here in Columbus. Don called me. I was in Florida, actually. Don called me and asked, would I be interested in coming to the Columbus Blue Jackets? We had a very quick conversation, and the deal was consummated very rapidly.
So, VP of Hockey Operations, what are the roles and responsibilities, Lawrence?
Well, I mean, I've been here a grand total of 3 days, and that, which have been consumed by attending the amateur scouting meetings and getting to know the staff. So not that far into it, but I think it's fair to say that the role that I will serve here will be very similar to the role that I served with the Vancouver Canucks, where I worked alongside Mike Gillis, handled a lot of the day-to-day administrative and operational ends of the team. I think it's fair to say that I will get that handle that I really have bristled against over the course of my career, which is I'm going to be the capologist. Although they have a really widespread staff here, there are a lot of people who do a lot of things, and there's a lot of support. So it's not like that job is being done isolated or on an island. But I'll likely be the point person in contract negotiations. Columbus is currently, as we said, about $17 million below the ceiling. So we're not operating in the rarefied air of being in LTIR or having to manage a team with very little cap space. That does make it considerably easier. I'm not sure that will be the case forever, but that's the case right now. But as I said, I mean, ultimately, I think the role will be similar to the one I served for the Vancouver Canucks for the 7 years that I was there.
Must be kind of fun for you because, this is your bread and butter, so that must be fun in and of itself. But this team in its cycle, it seems like, and you can shed further light on what you've gleaned in the first few days here, they're kind of done being in the mushy middle, and they'd like to start making some strides forward at this point. And granted, they are in the mushy middle as we speak, but you've won back-to-back games, and there's signs of traction there. And in that Eastern Conference, God, anybody is available to make a run here. But it sounds like there's aspirations, Lawrence, there for the organization.
This team is so much better than its record. It's unbelievable. And, I'm 2-0 since I've come to join the organization, because I came here Sunday night and watched their game against the Utah Mammoth from the cozy confines of their dressing room with their amateur scouting staff. And then last night I attended in person, first game live. And to look at the talent that they have on the ice, beginning with a player like Zach Werenski and having Adam Fantilli and Kirill Marchenkov and Kent Johnston and Voronkov, and the list goes on, Cole Sillinger, goes on and on and on. And I think it's fair to say that the team has not had the greatest goaltending over the course of the season, and they've had some discipline problems, and they've obviously coughed up third period leads multiple times, and that's why they left so many points on the pile. But the pieces are here. And the other thing that I can add is, having been here for 3 days, the culture here is fantastic and the staff are excellent. And I think this is an organization, and I did my homework before accepting this position. It's a very stable place. The McConnell family has owned the team since its inception in the late 90s for 25 years. They've only had 4 general managers. Don Waddell is the 4th, and he's only in the 2nd year of his tenure. The guy that I'm replacing in this role, Josh Flynn, was here for 18 years. This is what I was looking for when it came to an NHL opportunity. I wanted to go somewhere that was stable. I wanted to work with excellent people, and I wanted to go somewhere where the team's on the rise. And clearly, every one of those attributes exist here, and I could not be more excited to be a member of the Blue Jackets organization.
And the market is a good one too. They know what offside is. It's a hockey town, and I say town. It's a smaller market for sure, but they know what hockey is, Lawrence.
Well, if you attend a game here, the game production is excellent. The energy in the building is fantastic. The building itself is outstanding, and people love their Blue Jackets here. And it's funny because I got a lot of congratulatory texts when I got this job, and it's amazing how many of them said, try and stay at the opposite end of the rink as the cannon. And I've heard that cannon go off many, many, many times in my career, particularly during my tenure with the Phoenix Coyotes. But it's funny because last night, I got caught off guard on more than a couple of occasions. There were 5 goals scored, and I'd be writing notes after a goal scored, and then have the boom go off in my ear, and I've got to sort of get my game going with respect to the cannon.
You mentioned the culture there, Lawrence, and it just got better because any room that Rick Bowness walks into, he lights up. Tell us about the coaching change, and then tell us what it's like to be back reunited with your old mate here from the Vancouver Canucks days and Rick Bowness.
Well, it's funny because the team was on the road they had a 4-game road trip that culminated in Utah, and I know the team's travel schedule, and that they were set to arrive back in Columbus at 2:30 in the morning. Our scouting meetings commenced at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and I didn't expect Don to show up until later on in the day, noon or whatever. And 8:45, he's in the room, and took note of that. And he spoke briefly to the scouts, and then he said, "I have to attend a meeting, and I'll be back." He came back an hour or so later, and he pulled me aside and he said, "I just want to let you know, I've decided we're going to make a coaching change." And we talked about the reasons why. And I asked the question. I said, "Obviously, you don't make coaching changes without having a successor in place first. I mean, that's the veteran way to do it." And obviously, Don is a veteran general manager. And I asked the question. I said, "Who are you bringing in, or who's the next head coach?" And he said, "Well, I'm speaking to Rick Bowness." And I said, the Blue Jackets are the fifth organization that I've worked for, and this will be the 3rd time that I've worked with Rick Bowness. And I said, "I can tell you, you're not going to find a better individual or a better motivator of people than Rick Bowness, and I can't say enough about him." And he said, "Well, that's good." He said, I said, I've known Rick over the years, but he said, I think he's the right coach at the right time." And I said, "I don't have any doubt that he's the right coach for this team at this moment in time." And it's been great.
We've talked about culture a lot here, and as it flounders in Vancouver and has for a couple of years now. Is it overrated? What do you think of that word culture when it pertains to the room and how important it is? Especially at different points in a team's progression, because I think it probably means different things at the level the Blue Jackets are at, the level the Canucks were at in 2010. Like, how does it change?
First of all, Blake, I don't think you can overestimate culture. And in fact, I think culture is often overestimated in any industry, in whether that's in sport or in business. And culture can mean different things at different times, depending upon where you are in the continuum of your organization. And this one is a case of they're in a case of where they're building their culture. And I actually, quite frankly, was surprised at how much energy and soulfulness there is within these players, and watching the unbridled joy. I just was sitting with Rick Nash and Chris Clark, who I work very closely with. And I said to them, I didn't have the opportunity to meet Dean Evison, unfortunately. I don't know what it was like before I got here, but watching Bones circle around they had the players stretching in the center circle, watching Bones talk and joke with the players and seeing the unbridled joy on their faces. Like I said to both Rick and Chris, I said, I have a tough time believing that a practice looked like this before this gentleman stepped onto the ice. And you can't win in this business, and you can't be successful in this business if you don't have harmony from top to bottom. Everybody pulling in the same direction. The players believe in the coaches believe in the management believes in the players, and the players believe in the management. Like, it has to be that way. And I can tell you, it's palpable here. And I don't know if we're going to win with it, but I know sure as hell you can't win without it.
Rick Bowness is honestly one of my favorite people in 2.5 decades of covering this game. Like, he walks into a room. First of all, you hear him before you see him because the big booming voice, and there's usually a funny turn of phrase. He's got that, maritime friendliness. You feel like you've known him your whole life, even if you haven't actually spent a ton of time with him. So lovely to see him back in the league. I look forward to all his press conferences because I found I learned something about the game of hockey.
Two of our favorite NHL employees are employed again.
We're going to have to root Blue Jackets here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll send you some gear.
Thank you. Tell us about Port Moody's Kent Johnston, Lawrence, because needless to say, a local guy here, a high draft pick, a lot of eyeballs on him. People thought he was launching last year, and it's been more of a struggle for him this year. And I see Rick is playing him a whole lot in the limited number of games that he's coached. Tell us a little bit about Kent Johnston and what you envision for him here going forward.
Well, it's interesting you ask about him because obviously I have a particularly fond spot for BC hockey, the products of the BC hockey system. And I happen to, have friends that know Kent Johnston and know his family. And, I watched him. They sent him down a couple of years ago to play a cup of coffee with the Cleveland Monsters, and he absolutely destroyed the Marlies in one game. He's obviously an exceptionally skilled player, but so I paid particular attention to him last night, and I was extremely impressed with the confidence and skill set that he demonstrated. And not just that, but I really liked the fortitude with which he played and the jam that he showed. And interestingly, when I went down to the coach's room, and bear in mind, it's my first time walking into a coach's room after a game, the coaching staff and management were raving about how well Kent Johnston played that game and that he looked like the player that he hadn't looked like in the last little while and how much confidence he played with. And he's a supremely skilled player who processes the game at a very, very high level. And if he continues to play games like the way he played last night, he's going to be a very effective player for this organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You have anything else for him? I have one more question.
Fire away.
Well, next order of business, Lawrence. How about decorating the office a bit, huh? Like, where are the pictures of the kids? Like, where's the artwork? We know you have taste. When is the office going to get a little bit dressed?
Pretty sparse
here?
behind you
exactly.
there. Yeah.
It's not even a
Well,
notebook.
the sum total of this interview exceeds the amount of time that I have spent in this office since I have been here.
Okay.
I think you guys are being a little hard on me.
Probably. Well, we had to. We had to. You're back employed now.
If and when I do another interview with you people, there'll be a photo or two of my children, perhaps, and some memorabilia of some nature. Although I've never been one to make my office a shrine. To myself, as I tell my children, it's what you do in your office that counts much more than what it looks like.
Yeah, fair enough. Good lesson. Let me just say this, buddy. It was 2 tremendous runs with you on this program. I still get stopped and asked about Wednesdays with Lawrence all those years ago that we did on the radio station. And then this year as well, listeners, audience members, where's Lawrence? Where's Lawrence? I'm like, well, you got a couple things in the hopper. If it doesn't happen, he'll be back. If it does happen, we're happy for him. So we are absolutely delighted for you. Wish you all the best there in Columbus. Thank you for making time here today. And
no problem.
One against the Canucks tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually thrilled about that too. I received some text messages from some of my former coworkers and colleagues, and people have said they're looking forward to seeing me, and I am greatly looking forward to seeing some of them. So it's all very good. But getting back to this doesn't have to be goodbye.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And the Blue Jackets are chill. They let their executives speak. So
interesting.
Yeah. So perhaps we'll continue this conversation.
Concept.
Yes. Yeah, help the tank commanders here in Vancouver. Go get a win. Go get a win tomorrow.
Got a lot of people pulling Blue Jackets in BC.
Yes,
tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks, Lawrence. Be well.
Thanks, guys.
Sekerson Price from the historic Wall Center.
We break into programming here to give you a public service announcement of sorts. These are my favorite kind of. It's a PSA. It's a pizza service announcement. It's a PPSA. It's a pizza service announcement. They're slicing the price of a large 4-topping pizza. It's $13.99. What year is it? Seriously, that is like those are 1988 prices.
They're just giving it away.
That's 40% of the regular price. And yes, all 4 toppings included. Is perfect for game night, whether you're settling in for a puck drop or watching a long overtime, or in the case of the weekend, maybe kickoff. Delivery, pickup, it's easy, fast, great value. Slice the price at Pizza Pizza. Order now at pizzapizza.ca or on the Pizza Pizza app. This concludes our PPSA.
So let's bring in Cam Robinson, then the director of everything at Elite Prospects, who joins us weekly. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well. That might have been the best ad read I've ever seen. Like, I needed that star to go across the screen. The more you know, the true PPSA.
In radio, the term's called oral drool. Nobody does oral drool like Blake Price.
That's what I tried. Yeah.
Nailed it.
The goal. That's the goal. You know what will get people drooling is the Canucks trading veterans for assets.
Yeah, we have some meaty topics here, meat lovers topics to deal with. Cam, it seems like there's some activity around Elias Pettersson right now. What are you hearing, bro?
I mean, to be honest with you, I know I saw the report there too. Kind of behind closed doors and whispering around the league is that it's been going on for a little while. I think teams have been kicking the tires on him. You know, he's obviously not generating at the level that you would expect from a player making, you know, the amount of money that he is. But as of late, you know, he has been scoring goals. He's still quite strong defensively. You know, he is relatively young. There's a lot of boxes checked there for teams that are looking to improve their center depth and really like push into the playoffs. So, you know, for Carolina, we've long known that they've been interested in bringing Elias Pettersson for years. For years, they identified him before he even blew up that this could be a guy who could pop for 100 points. So, you know, I think Carolina, similar to last year, you know, they had 2 trade offers out there, one for Pettersson, one for Mikko Rantanen, and ended up going for the Rantanen trade. Is that I think that they have something going on like that right now too, where they maybe have similar packages out there to, you know, maybe 2 or 3 teams for a couple of big name players, and they're seeing what they can do. And they have the flexibility, the cap flexibility to do something like that. They also have assets that they can remove off their roster or top prospects and picks that they can feel comfortable moving out because the state that their organization is in right now, that they're looking to win a Stanley Cup. So they have a lot of creativity, a lot of flexibility, and a player like Elias Pettersson would obviously improve a team like the Carolina Hurricanes greatly. And for Vancouver, it's like, you know, do you look at just trying to get out from under that contract? Is it time to just really remove that entire old guard if you're going to rebuild completely? So it makes a lot of sense that they're listening and that there are a couple teams that are kicking the tires.
So we know Carolina also wants to get off the Jesperi Kotkaniemi contract. And while the Hurricanes do have cap space, that would work in terms of some salary balancing. But if
Svechnikov and Kotkaniemi is basically Pettersson on the nose.
Good shout. Good math on you, Blake. But of course, if the Canucks are trading Elias Pettersson, I mean, they're already center poor. I know Kotkaniemi can play there. In fact, he's playing right wing right now. But I'm not sure he fits the bill. Does that bring us back to former Kamloops Blazer Logan Stankoven, who they got in the Rantanen trade, Cam? Would he have to be a part from a Canucks perspective of any Pettersson deal?
Yeah, I've checked in on that Svechnikov idea, and I was told they don't have a lot of big bodies that play like him. So even when he was slumping and it looked like maybe they just don't really have players like him on their roster. So I think that he's probably going to be tough for them to move off. But a guy like Stankoven, like you said, Matt, is that Vancouver, even if Kotkaniemi was part of that package, is that you'd need someone at least that could cause play as a second line center for you, and that's not Kotkaniemi, but that could be Logan Stankoven, who is undersized, but they've had him playing in the middle of the ice. They've been really trying to get him to play the middle of the ice there in Carolina. Long term, he could fit that bill, and that would be if he was part of that return. if you could pull him and maybe a Bradley Nadeau or a first round pick or something like that for Pettersson, even at his expensive price tag right now, a cap hit, I think that would be something Vancouver would absolutely consider, because you'd be saving cash, you'd be getting younger assets, maybe draft picks or a prospect on top. So it's like that would facilitate that deeper, longer rebuild that they've seemed so allergic to. So if they made a move like that, I think that would be very telling for what the next steps are. But I'm dubious that would be the result.
We're asking our poll question what the recent uptick in Pettersson's play means to the fans. You can comment on that, but also what do you think management sees when they see Pettersson pretty good over 20 games, very good over 9 games? Do they get heartened that he's back and can be a part of the solution going forward, or do they think now is our time to get out from under? Knowing full well that he might flourish elsewhere. Like, he might return to being an 85-point player elsewhere here, Ken.
I mean, why not? Why not? The skill doesn't just dissipate like that. It's still in there. He has that ability to be beyond a point a game player. Like, he could get back to that in the right situation with the right players. He could become a 40-goal, 100-point player again. I don't think there's any question. I think that that's what other teams think as well, too, is that sure, now when he's making 11-6 or whatever it is, now the risk is much higher to try to take on that and then hope that he becomes that. And same for Vancouver. So again, I think it just comes down to, what is the vision? Because if the vision is that we need to turn this thing around quickly, which is what they've been saying constantly, is that you hope that this run of play here, 10 goals in 20 games for Elias Pettersson, is that maybe this is signs of, he can be that guy this year through the back half, and maybe next year when we start to turn this thing around. But if the plan is like, hey, you know what? We have a bunch of guys that are pushing 30 that aren't contributing on this roster. We're at the bottom of the standings. We're not getting out of this hole anytime soon. Let's start peeling this off. And then it's like, okay, 10 goals in 20 games, whatever he's got in the last 9. Let's use that as a springboard to be like, Elias Pettersson's back. Let's push to make that move now. And that would be, like I said, that would be kind of that canary in the coal mine, that this is a longer term rebuild, which is what, most fans have an appetite for, I believe, at this point. And most, pundits would agree, is that this isn't something that can turn around quickly. You are going to have to do some deep cuts.
Brock Besser. All the relevant same questions. What do the Canucks do with the man named Brock Besser?
What can they do?
Yeah.
If he's got a no move and he's not willing to waive, I'm not sure.
Unless the player starts to buy in that greener pastures is what he needs too, because he probably does not enjoy the fact that he hasn't had a center like David Kampf. Come on. And you hope that Brock Besser is able to find offense even with David Kampf, but honestly, if you're Brock Besser, that's the easiest crutch. And I don't begrudge him for thinking this, if he does think this. But if I'm Brock Besser, I'm looking at, hello, David Kampf. What?
Well, we should.
No, I was just going to say is that, there's things working against him. But, we can be honest about Brock, is that he hasn't been a play driver really his whole career, right? That's not who he is. He is reliant on someone getting him the puck in those good scoring positions. He can facilitate too. He can set other guys up as well. That part of his game has really developed over the years. But, for him to be impactful, he's not the one driving the play. And so when you have a guy like David Kampf as your centerman, he's not driving the play either. He's not setting it up on a tee for you. And so that's going to affect him. But I mean, at the same time, you are making $7 million, your first year of that extension, it's like you should be able to find the back of the net at least a couple times in 20 games, right? So a little bit's on him too. Maybe he's dinged up and he's fighting through some stuff too, but it's just, like you said, Blake, is that, maybe he starts to look at it and be like, how many rebuilds am I going to have to go through with this organization before we actually win? Careers don't last forever. So maybe he would be open to a possibility of waiving that to the right situation, to the right team. It's just like, what kind of value is he going to have on the trade market right now too, especially how he's going, his age, his foot speed, and his contract. It's limiting.
Cam, things are not well with the New York Rangers. They are last place in the Eastern Conference. They have been a tire fire at home this year. 5-12-4, and don't score a lot of goals there. JT Miller was flat out of answers the other night, if you caught that post game, and there's a lot of heat on him, the new captain there. What do you envision for Alexei Lafreniere, the former first overall pick and a client once upon a time of Emily Castengay, the Vancouver Canucks assistant general manager back in her agent days? Sounds like the Rangers are looking towards a shakeup. Chris Drury, the heat is very hot right now. What are you envisioning? Is Lafreniere going to be on the market here?
Yeah, again, so just kind of this the whispers behind closed doors is that the team is obviously at a crossroads right now. And up until that Shesterkin injury, which as far as I know hasn't been released exactly the timeline on it, but if they shut him down for the year, that's curtains. You can't even pretend that they can climb out of that hole. With Shesterkin, maybe they could lie to themselves. And we know that they've been kicking the tires on Kiefer Sherwood. They'd been looking at opportunities to buy, to look to improve their roster and really push into the playoffs round. So my understanding is that they're kind of making that decision right now. Is that, hey, do we just start selling assets? And if they do start selling assets, it's not just Artemi Panarin, who would, return a bushel for them and I think is still going to get absolutely paid in free agency. But it is Alexis Lafreniere. It is a kid like Braden Schneider. I think that they would look to move those type of pieces too. Now, they missed the boat on moving Lafreniere and getting a substantial return as a first overall pick. But we know that Vancouver has been interested in the past. Absolutely. I think that they were hoping to get him maybe in that JT Miller trade. I think that they've looked at a couple different ways to try to bring him in. And I'm sure Castonguay has a big role in that too. So for Vancouver, to look at Lafreniere as a reclamation project, that could make a lot of sense. Now, what I come back to is that if the Rangers are selling, what is Vancouver giving them that they're interested in that Vancouver could part with, right? Like if the Rangers were buying and they were like, hey, we need to upgrade so we can get better. It's like, yeah, let's move Lafreniere. And then I guess maybe Vancouver could try to sell them on like, hey, how about a Brock Besser? How about a guy who scored 30, knows how to find the back of the net, put him on a power play. Him and JT had worked well together. Maybe you could make that sale, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense if the Rangers are looking to bottom out like Vancouver, because Vancouver needs to hold on to all their young assets.
Connor Garland, same idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the American wingers, I mean, you'd think that fits well into what Drury likes to get tempted by.
What American winger wouldn't want to play in New York
Well, and
City
honestly,
and be a Ranger?
Absolutely.
Right?
There's a little bait on the hook there for sure. Yeah.
Staying in the Gotham area, the New Jersey Devils have quite a pickle on their hand, if I can quote Jim Rutherford. A lot of the focus there is Dougie Hamilton, who was going to be shut down and not play because Kovacevic was back and blah, 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 looking for a trade. Yet Hamilton plays last night. But
they've got bad contracts. They've got a couple.
Well, the other guys, the guy they were trying to unload to create the cap space for Quinn Hughes was Andre Palat. And you wonder if they're still looking to just flat unload this contract that's got one more year at $6 million left. Cam, is this a good opportunity for the Canucks to quote unquote weaponize cap space and take on a bad asset with an attachment from the New Jersey Devils?
I mean, absolutely. That's what good, bad teams do. And I think that this would be a terrific opportunity for Vancouver, right? Is that you're like, hey, let me take that anchor off of your hands. And, it's not just the 1 year. It's not just saving them the cap space this year. I believe he's got another year on that deal too. And it's an anchor. And so it's like, yeah, I'll take it and toss your first round pick over, or toss me, a second and a good prospect, and we'll get them off your hands so that you can use that cap space to get better and push, because this is a team, New Jersey, that they had expectations and they're not meeting them, and they have bad contracts and they're going to have to pay to get out of them. So for Vancouver, they don't have a ton of cap space, but maybe they can create some here in the coming weeks leading up to that deadline. And then absolutely, I think that would be a terrific opportunity. And if they don't do it, someone else probably will. A smart, bad team will take that opportunity to be like, hey, yes, we want this. Maybe they're even giving New Jersey a player, someone that they covet as well. It's like, and we'll take Palat, and we'll take your first, and we'll take this guy. You're a good prospect off your hands, and that return for their player that they're moving out becomes so much more because of it. So yes, I think Vancouver should absolutely be looking at something like that.
And it's sort of well timed out too. He's got that extra year, which means you should be able to get more in the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody is pretty safe in assuming the Canucks will not be competitive again next year, and then you get the $6 million of space coming off the books as well. So world becomes the Canucks oyster.
Yeah, the one thing there is that the Canucks do not have that sort of salary cap space now, so I don't know if Jersey would have to hold on the player or there had to be salary going back. But it gets easier and easier as you get creep towards trade deadline, right? Because then the cap hit becomes even less and less prorated, less money to take on. Let's turn our attention to draft, Cam, because we noted the NHL Central Scouting rankings out yesterday. I know you're busy surveying teams right now, as well as the fine folks at Elite Prospects getting together to put out your next ranking, your next list. Tell us, what are you hearing right at the top in terms of Ivar Stenberg and Gavin McKenna?
Yeah, I mean, not every team. So I have 10 teams that'll submit their list to me for the scout poll that I try to mimic Bob McKenzie's list there. And it certainly seems like Ivar Stenberg has taken over the pole position. And I mean, justifiably so. He was significantly better. I think, didn't have the same amount of points as Gavin did, but as you look at play and transferable play, he was better. And that, he's popped right back to Frölunda, scored the game-winning goal in Champions Hockey League play on just a wicked wrister. It kind of looked like Nikita Kucherov on that power play too. So, I think Ivar has definitely moved up, and he's solidifying himself at the top right now, mid-season here. The big question will be is like, does Gavin even go 2? So there's one team that has him outside of the top 3 so far that submitted to me too. And I think that we're starting to see that now. There is going to be maybe not knee-jerk reactions after, his performance at the World Juniors, because I don't think it was bad, but I did think it, like I said last week, it raised more questions than answers. And I think there are some teams that would be very cautious in taking him in the top 2 or 3, because, a kid like Keaton Verhoff is still sitting there too. A guy like Chase Reed is going to be there, where teams are going to look at it and be like, we can project these more easily than taking the risk on a kid who maybe could be a 100-pointer in the NHL, but he's going to be a soft 100-pointer, and he might not be a 100-pointer either, right? And now you're really second guessing. So I think right now, I've said it a few times, is the best place to pick is probably number 2. Is that if Gav goes 1, you take Ivar Stenberg. If Stenberg goes 1, well, you probably just take Gavin at number 2 there and be fine with it and hope for the best.
There are a couple of wild cards out there. One of them was the best natural center, we think, in Tynan Lawrence, or best capable center in Tynan Lawrence, who makes the jump from the USHL to Boston University here to start the new year. We said yesterday, it's a really small sample size, but he didn't exactly arrive at BU and burst down the door. No points in the first 3 games. Have you heard anything about his 3-game debut here for BU?
It's interesting because, I was curious that he stayed in the USHL. He stayed with Muskegon after what he did last year, winning the championship, winning playoff MVP. He did everything he could at that level. And then that level, kind of took a step back in skill-wise because they lost a lot of talent to the CHL. And so I thought it was interesting that he stayed there to do that anyways. And then, quite honestly, he didn't pop. Like, the flashes were far greater and more frequent in his draft -1 than they were early on the year. And yes, he was dealing with some injuries to start the year. But, now it's a risk. Now he took a big risk going to BU midseason because there's not a lot of games left on the schedule, not a lot of runway to get your feet underneath you. And that's a big jump. That's a level jump up from the USHL to college hockey. And so, the Muskegon anyways put it out there that they were happy to support him in his goal to, go first overall. And yes, by doing that, if he could jump into college hockey and really prove, outscore a guy like McKenna, really look like he belongs at that level, he could push himself into that conversation. But on the flip side, if you struggle to keep up with the pace, with the, find chemistry early, it's like you only have a handful of games to do it. You could drop your stock. And so again, is that, I have some teams that are still believers in him as the top center in this draft, and that he could elevate into that kind of conversation for the top 3. But I also have teams that are talking about like, hey, maybe this guy's more, closer to 10. And the name to watch is Caleb Maholtra as being the top center in this class.
Yes, he has got some helium, Manny's son. Jeff Merrick has been chronicling that with us each and every week. And when it's all said and done, he would not be surprised if Caleb is a top 10 or a top 5 even draft pick. Yeah, well, play center. People will love the pedigree. And like, he's got a chance to lead the OHL in scoring at 17. Like, it's just nuts. Lastly, on the draft file, Cam, 5 Vancouver Giants were rated by Central Scouting. We have talked about these young men before. Both look like they're going to be first-rounders. The right-shot defenseman Ryan Lynn from Richmond. The forward from Penticton, Mathis Preston, who just came over in a dub trade deadline deal from Spokane. I sometimes feel like the Vancouver Giants are as cursed as the Vancouver Canucks, and yet they've both gotten hurt. They're going to miss some time. Tell us how this is going to affect, if at all, their draft stocks.
Well, for Lynn, I mean, he was on a bit of a heater too. Like, he was cooking. He was leading all CHL draft eligible defensemen in points. The goals are starting to come. He just got the C strapped onto his chest there too. Like, things were moving in the right direction for Ryan Lynn. So that's tough. That's tough that he's out. I've been told it's going to be about 4 weeks. Maybe up to 6 weeks if they don't rush him back. Preston has had a difficult season, I would say. He's had a difficult season finding his offensive game. finding chemistry there. It sounded like he maybe wanted out of Spokane, so he got his wish. He's in Vancouver, and I think Vancouver was happy to facilitate that because he has such incredible upside. And it's also like, hey, Ryan, maybe don't consider going to the NCAA next year. Maybe we'll bring in a guy like him, and we'll bring in Joe Ginlin. We'll have some young guys that we can push towards next year and maybe make a run. So I like the pickup. So it's really unfortunate that Preston won't have an opportunity to really find that chemistry and get situated in Vancouver because, again, it sounds like he's going to be out probably 4 to 6 weeks too with a lower body injury. But the name of the game is that's going to put a ding in both of their seasons. It's going to be hard to come back from. I think Lynn has showed enough already. He'll come back. He'll have regular season games. And then it's both of them. We're looking at Slovakia. We're looking at the U18s there in Bratislava and Trenčín, is that they've got to show up and play big roles for that Team Canada. And I think that they will, especially Lynn. And Lynn, I don't really think he can do much else to prove himself this year. He's shown everything he's capable of. He's upped his offensive game. He's always had a really strong defensive game. It's just a matter of if teams are willing to bite on him at his size and think that, yes, this is for sure a top 12 pick, or if he's going to fade closer to 20, which would be fantastic for Vancouver if they could land a kid like him with Minnesota's pick.
I was just going to ask, is there any chance the Canucks could get him with their second
absolutely
first-round pick? I think Preston was already in that neighborhood, and you wonder whether the injury to Lynn drops him.
Any reviews of Braden Coots as a Raider? Have you heard any feedback on that?
It was awesome last night.
4 points in 3 games now.
Yeah, and I expect those points to keep rolling. It's like I said last week, that's a very good team, and he's going to fit seamlessly in there and play loads of minutes in different roles, protecting leads, trying get up and on 1-2 when they're down. So he'll be used very well and a lot of minutes out there, and I think his numbers will keep generating up too. It'll be a good spot for him.
You're the best. Thank you for this. We look forward to your next. Oh, boy, McKenna at 4 for one team. We look forward to you publishing that, Cam, and the rest of the work you do at Elite Prospects. It's outstanding. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, boys. We'll talk next week.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Leach. You're louder when you're rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall Center, just minutes from the stadium and arena. Unlock that S&P rate. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them you heard it here. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. Whitecaps FC take their physicals today before jetting off to Marbella, Spain for training camp. And
Marbella.
Sorry, Barcelona. The question, will Tristan Blackman be on the flight? I sure hope so. The MLS Defender of the Year posted to social yesterday and got people wondering if he yearns for sunnier climes after that transfer dalliance with Inter Miami. Maybe just a gag, maybe a statement of intention or desires.
Maybe his last look.
Or maybe just a photo of Las Vegas where he lives. But it is the Miami Herald reporter who had that story about Blackman being on the verge of a transfer to Inter Miami. Kaufman, what's her first name? Michelle. Mm-hmm. Following up on my report last week about Vancouver MLS Defender of the Year, Tristan Blackman, nearing a deal to join Miami, he posted this on social media. Hint or not, time will tell. Now, people who know palm trees a lot better than, well, at least me. He's kind of a gardening guy.
The digital botanist did the recon on this particular species of palm tree, the one you see there. It's a desert palm tree.
More a desert than a tropical palm tree.
So, and also people made note of the weather, so the meteorologist got involved.
It was raining in Miami yesterday.
And for those thinking, oh, maybe he's going back home to LAFC. It was raining in LA too.
It's raining in LA.
Yeah.
Gosh, I sure hope he's happy here. It would be terrible to lose him. He was such a key part.
He seemed very happy. He's flourished in Vancouver. So, like, you generally have some attachment to the team that has given you your best opportunities.
Also, that Axel Schuster statement was so strong.
So
that
strong.
If it turns out to be, hollow, that would be a bad look for the team. Thomas Muller completed his medical and will join his teammates in Europe. All the Euro-based players were allowed to stay back and just join the team in Spain. And then Canadian men's national team news. Marcelo Flores, the attacking midfielder winger, Mexican-Canadian dual national.
Who grew up in Canada, actually.
Yeah. We mentioned had a couple of goals for Tigres earlier this week. He is not joining the Canadian men's national team training camp in California.
The Tigres manager says, quote, I hope we can help him so he's on the Canadian team for the World Cup. Canadian head coach Jesse Mark took responsibility, saying, it was my idea to try and get him here, but I made a mistake on that. Turns out, unless it's a closed-door match, he can't play. Please explain all this.
Well, I think he wanted to add some teeth to this match, which is very much the B team for Canada. Add in Osorio and Larea and Nelson.
There's three Whitecaps, young Whitecaps that are at this.
Yeah, so mostly debutante kind of players here. But I think Marsh wanted to keep everybody's attention for the match, to know that FIFA points were up for grabs here. Defend the points that you have. Get the credit for the victory if you can get it over Guatemala. So I think it was well-intentioned in that regard. But by making it an official FIFA Tier 1 match with FIFA ranking points on the line, it would mean the only way Marcelo Flores can play is if he permanently declared for Team Canada, made his final decision on playing for Canada. And Marsh expanded on that, said, he's still very much torn. His dad is very Mexican. His mom is very Canadian. He grew up in Canada, but all of his brothers play in Mexico. He is literally split down not literally, he is figuratively split down the middle, but literally would take him out of contention for the team.
Would take him out of life.
Yes. But his decision is so split, and he's just not ready to commit and make the one-time switch just yet.
Seahawks 49ers Saturday from Lumen, the biggest game in the Emerald City in 11 years since the 2015 NFC Championship game. They've hosted wildcard games there. They hosted the divisional playoff there over Carolina before that famous overtime victory against the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And injury report. Before we get to that, first time in NFL history, teams have met week 1, week 18, and in the playoffs. They oftentimes reserve those week 1 matchups for the division rivalries and the final week matchup for the division rivalries.
So it stands to reason.
It played out as they had hoped, with these two rivals playing a third time now in the postseason. Injury report here for the Seahawks. Kobe Bryant, the defensive back, Charles Cross, left tackle, tight end Elijah Arroyo, full participants.
Yes.
Defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence shows up with an Achilles as limited at practice. Tariq Woolen was also limited with an oblique. And then, Cross has to play because his backup, Josh Jones, did not participate. Neither did linebacker Tyrese Knight.
I was speaking to a bunch of Seahawks fans, like season ticket holders, yesterday. And they're just like, there is a danger, certainly within the fan base, Matt, if not on the team, of just saying, hey, the 49ers, when healthy, formidable opponent. But you should not
lose to this
edition of the 49ers.
Of course not.
Like,
they're so beat up, like they're playing guys off the street at linebacker.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to be overconfident, but come on.
They're losing their best edge guys. Kittle's out now.
Yeah.
And let's face it, after you beat them a few weeks ago and did everything you could to leave them in that game and allow them to steal it, smash and grab at the end. And then week 1, people forget, Darnold doesn't make a mistake down the stretch, they win that one too. At Lumen. The NFL has released the Conference Championship Day schedule for next Sunday. The NFC Championship is going to be the late game, so that will go at 3:30 our time, meaning if the Bears host it, it will be 3 straight night games at wintry Soldier Field.
Wow.
LA, Chicago in the other NFC game this week, the late game Sunday. Supposed to be cold. We'll look at that forecast later in the week. How about this oddity? Sean McVay was hired by the LA Rams 9-10 years ago and somehow will be facing his 15th different opponent in 15 career playoff games there. There are 15 teams in the NFC outside of the Rams. You can't play yourself. McVay has faced every one except for Washington and the Giants in the playoffs.
That is absurd.
He's even faced a couple of AFC teams, of course, getting to Super Bowls.
Wow.
I've never come across anything like that in my life.
And other than an oddity, there is actually a strategic disadvantage to him in that regard. If you face a team 2 out of 3 years, 3 out of 5 years, you do get a beat on what their coaches are all about. Now, they on you as well. But he goes into everything pretty fresh.
There's also rumor and innuendo that Sean McVay really wants to win this Sunday because he's big buddies with Green Bay head coach Matt LaFleur, and you may have seen the very quick, terse handshake between Ben Johnston, the Bears coach, and Matt LaFleur at the end of the game last week. Also, Ben Johnston, saying fuck Green Bay and I fucking hate that team. And actually, Johnson got called to the principal's office on that because the McCaskey family that owns the Bears are not very big on swearing in public.
Oh,
not when you represent the brand, Blake. It's a heritage franchise, the founder of the National Football League. Conduct ourselves with class.
You swear on the show all the time.
I swear a lot more when I'm watching Bears games, I assure you that.
That's not public, though.
Fair enough. Mike Tomlin leaving the Steelers, not fired. Important distinction here because people are wondering if he is doing the Sean Payton route. If you may remember, Payton left the New Orleans Saints on his own volition, did a year of television, and then got traded to the Denver Broncos. New Orleans received first and second round picks from Denver, who got Peyton and a third round pick, and people are wondering whether Mike Tomlin, that's going to be the same thing here.
How many years can he do?
Well, I believe he's under contract for 2 more years.
Now, if he does TV for 2 years, is he free?
I believe he's free then, yeah.
It doesn't get pushed.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the contract expires, right?
Yeah.
But it also tells me, are they going to pay him here? I don't know.
Yeah.
And how stalled out were the Steelers under Mike Tomlin? How about this, Blake? New England won 2 Super Bowls, lost Tom Brady, drafted a bust in Mac Jones, rebuilt the team, drafted another quarterback in Drake May, won a playoff game. All before the Steelers got another playoff win.
They've lived 3 lives, basically. It's been 3 generations of Patriots fans. Not true generations, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. 3 phases.
CFL and the BC Lions have signed American defensive tackle Casey Sayles to a 2-year contract. He spent the last 3 seasons in Hamilton, was in Winnipeg before that. All CFL player in 2023, an East Division All-Star. Career low, 4 sacks last year, but still a quality player. GM Ryan Rigmaiden really building that defensive line. We've talked about the 4 defensive ends he has at his disposal after the re-signing of Sione Tuiema to go with the 2 newcomers last year and Mathieu Betts. They re-signed the nose tackle, Jonah Tavai, and now adding Sayles to play beside him and get upfield. It's a pretty impressive group for BC on paper. Now, about that offensive line, both the starting tackles are free agents next month. Canadian depth almost non-existent behind Michael Couture. We'll see what he does there.
Is it fair comment that it is way hard? Like, there's so much football. We've talked about this before. There's so much football that is played in the United States. Mm-hmm. Is it easier to find a 7 out of 10 cornerback, wide receiver, slot back, safety, even linebacker, than it is to find a 7 or 8 out of 10 lineman?
American?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the NFL is keeping more offensive linemen on their expanded practice rosters. Mm-hmm. And the other problem is you have so many of these gimmicky NCAA offenses that don't actually ask offensive linemen to pass protect as they would be asked to pass protect.
They're smaller pseudo linemen almost.
Well, and it's not even a size thing. It's just technique and aptitude. You have to coach them and develop them a little bit in the professional ranks.
My point is,
that has been a big thing. CFL teams did not used to sweat having to go out and find an American offensive tackle. Now they sweat that because those guys aren't quite as available as they used to be.
Maybe this is an old realization and they're already doing this, but that would seem to me that if you're a Canadian GM, head of scouting, like prioritize the line, particularly the offensive line, and then you'll find the guy in Div 2 South Dakota who is a hell of an athlete and can catch a football. What's that?
That's all right. Ease nose for tomorrow. Also, there are so many better athletes playing offensive line now. So NFL scouts go, oh, look at him. He's 6'7", 320, but the feet are great. Let's put him on the practice roster for 2 years and see if he can be a guy. Mm-hmm. We also talked to you, mentioned the CFL winter meetings were ongoing in Calgary this week. It was a long list of things they were discussing. Farhan Lalji says 2 things are pushing forward. Timing for the final 3 minutes of the halves. We've talked about this. And they're just going to remain with the current arrangement.
Yeah.
They're not even importing the 35-second play clock to the final 3 minutes of the first and second half. It's going to be the old school CFL. 20-second play clock, stopped after a play is finished, and then whistled in when the ball is ready for play and the referees, the linesman has spotted the ball. So that's good because that allows for the comebacks. And that was one of the great things about the CFL is game's not over till it's over. If you've got a guy who is touchdown with 1 second left on the clock, you get that final play. You don't have to worry about the clock expiring. Too many NFL games end on a knee or end with the clock just expiring. The CFL didn't want that, so they found a, dare I say, hybrid
solution,
play clock. And no more ties. After the second overtime now, mini games completed, the teams will alternate plays from the 3-yard line.
Now,
until we have a winner.
My question that goes unanswered in Farhan's tweet here is, all those points count as regular points? Like the final score could be 75-68?
That is correct. The NCAA football has a similar arrangement. I watched a game a few years ago. I think it was Texas A&M and somebody, and like the game ended 30-something, tied at 30-something or 40-something. The final score was in the 70s.
Can I make a recommendation
They just kept going.
Can I make a recommendation? Call them 2-point converts, and we'll go up by 2s.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I don't want these guys get from
credit the 3-yard line isn't really a touchdown, although you're gifting field position in this overtime format anyways.
So call it a conversion. Like, is the guy going to get a career touchdown reception out of that?
Out of the
tie-breaking scenario?
In the overtime, definitely. But about the plays from the 3-yard line, I don't know, Blake.
Yeah, I need that answered. And secondarily, Dave Naylor didn't go at Farhan, but it's just sort of like, okay, it's fine.
They're buddies.
No, I'm just saying. He's saying the rule change is fine. He's like, but it's not it wasn't a problem that needed solving. There's been 4 ties in the last 10 years, I think, or something like that in the CFL. Like, why are you devoting any energy to this? There's no ties. It's a little strange.
Well, because we're playing a game before a commercial audience. They deserve a winner or a loser.
And 99
It's no different than the other sports. The NHL worked to get rid of ties. NCAA football has gotten rid of ties. We don't want no stinking ties.
Well, hockey had to deal with it because there's too many ties. Mm-hmm. Football doesn't have that.
Incidentally, I'm not even going to look that up, whether that's going to count as a 2-point conversion or an actual touchdown, because Farhan listens every day.
Yeah, he'll get it.
While he walks his dog, his beloved dog. Farhan's power rankings. Dog, children. So he's just going to get back to us. He'll send me a text later today.
I look forward to that.
In fact, he may even copy you since you were the inquisitor
he often does.
here.
Yeah.
These changes still have to be approved by the Board of Governors. Updating the big story in golf we talked about yesterday, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, Cameron Smith all say they are going to stay with LIV Golf and not jump back to the PGA Tour by that February 2nd deadline.
Did you see the emotion, though, as they said that?
Well, DeChambeau was not at all convincing, saying simply he is contracted to play LIV in 2026. Sounds like a lawyerly answer.
And then he went further than that and said in 2027, when his contract is done, he may just play the majors and YouTube golf. He's doing these constructed...
good luck with that, but that's got a shelf life, right? Like if you're not...
Even for a year or two, that'd be a weird choice.
You've got to be able to be competitive in those majors for people to keep caring about you. Because there is going to come a day where a guy comes on tour and hits the ball further than you or hits the ball as far as you, and you're not quite the novelty. Now, you may be able to keep it going with your creativity, hitting golf balls over your mansion and saying you can make a hole-in-one on the green in your backyard and all that sort of stuff.
He wants to break 50 from the red tees. That's also a thing.
Okay.
Fill
Good
your
luck
boots.
with that.
Yeah.
Now, Liv has added some players here recently. World number 99, Ben On. Former Waste Management Open champion Tom Detry. Former U.S. Ryder Cup star Anthony Kim. So they continue to be drip, 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 taking players away from the PGA Tour. Again, not needle movers in the least, Blake.
Anthony Kim had the yips, and this is his comeback.
He had more than the yips. He
Yeah.
had
a catastrophic failure to perform.
as well as some matters in his personal life. Anyways, Sony Open kicks off the PGA Tour season tomorrow. Defending champion Nick Taylor of Abbotsford tees off at 8:05 a.m. alongside Robert McIntyre of Scotland and Englishman Aaron Rai. He's starting to get placed with better guys, right? More TV groups, if you will. Coquitlam's AJ Ewart, who won the final qualifying tour event and got his PGA Tour card. He plays just his third PGA Tour event and his first non-Canadian Open. He's played in the Canadian Open twice before. This is the first time he's out there with all the big boys somewhere other than Canada. Surrey's Adam Svensson is also in the field.
Pendrith, Connors as well. There's a lot of
the
Canadians.
Ontario guys
Yeah.
are in as well. Yeah, I believe it's 6 Canadians in the field.
Yeah.
Poll question results from yesterday. We asked you, is there any reason to fire Adam Foote right now? Yes or no? People said
no.
Correct percentage?
70.
76. This is basically a referendum on tanking, right?
The votes make you think that, but the responses are a little bit more akin to what I thought was the exercise.
Mike says, hell no, terrible coaching helps us get a top 3 pick. Keep him around for 2 to 3 years. Craig says, end of season, yes, now no point. And Robbie says, no, but he's got to be gone next year. Manny should be here coaching.
But I saw other responses, too, that were along the lines of, this is not the right system for these kids to be learning in. And that people were worried about that. So, 1 in 4 is still, because the tanking, the last time we did a true tanking poll question, it was 90-10.
Yeah, it was.
So this clambered back some votes.
Errors and omissions from yesterday's program and beyond. We had an internet burp that affected us on YouTube, froze us up. A few minutes later, we were brought back. Not sure what the case was there, but self-corrected. Oh, and then Yerke. And Yerke was in the attendance last night with his son.
Oh, yeah.
The good news for all of you, and why we humor Yerke with his fastidiousness on errors and omissions, is that, and I got to be careful here because I told him I would keep him anonymous, but Yerke has a really big job with the federal government on policy stuff that benefits us all. Like, you want this sort of fastidiousness, some would say anal retentiveness, oversight in the sort of job that Yerke has. Like, he's doing a service to all 40 million Canadians when he brings this fine-tooth microscope to his day job, not just the program. We mentioned Gretzky's 500th goal, not against Kirk McLean. That was the record-setting goal. But against Richard Brodeur, Yerke points out it was actually into an empty net in a game that Richard Brodeur was playing.
Wow.
And believe it or not, there's another error within the body of errors and omissions. I'm just not going to indulge his fastidiousness with that one.
You've drawn a
He's
line.
not getting drunk off S&P. We'll save. We're going to save it for tomorrow.
That's strong, Matt. That's strong.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the follow button, subscribe. It costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. We're live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. Tomorrow, Thursday, January 15th, we will be at 10 a.m. with another early start for the Canucks in Columbus. Jeff Pettersson will be sitting in for me. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.